And like I said before,
stopped you from getting it, but if you have it, you have to.
I don't care if I get it. I'm not afraid at all of this. I care if Mr. King gets it. I care if your grandma gets it. I care if, you know what I'm saying? I don't care if I get it. I kind of care if Christy gets it, even though I don't think, it doesn't matter what I think. Patience will tell you, I act like I'm not afraid of nothing. And it can't be like this, and this can't happen, you know what I'm saying? That's how I am. But I don't want anybody to get jacked up by this. And I did skip every day of medical school. So it really doesn't matter what I think about anything. You know? Did you hear about Pfizer? What's Pfizer? P-F-I-Z-E-R.
Is that like the...
You've all heard of it, but you don't think you've heard of it. Pfizer, the medical company, the medicine company, they make medicines.
Are they going to come up with a cure?
They supposedly have a vaccine that they've tested on 44,000 people that so far has proven to be 90% effective. The flu vaccine is 30 to 60%. Okay. So if that's true, that's pretty good deal. You know what I'm saying? That's really good news. Like everything else, it's becoming political, which that's what ticks me off about everything. It becomes political. I heard something that Cuomo, either the guy on CNN or the governor of New York, they're brothers. One of them was, there's a lot of people that aren't. The only thing they would be excited about, here's what most people are fired up about. Not fired up about a vaccine that possibly could help people not die. They're fired up that either Biden or Trump gets the credit for it. And I'd like to slap all them in the face. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't mean anything other than if this protects Mr. King, if this protects your grandma or whatever, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. Plus, President Trump is not in a laboratory making this medicine. And Biden was not in a laboratory making this medicine. So it's not their thing anyway. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let me back to what I was going to say. We got to keep doing what they tell us to, whether it's right or not. We got to keep doing that. And just do what's right in life. That's the best advice I probably could ever give you. Just do what's right. And things will turn out okay. It won't turn out the way you want it, but anyway. On all that stuff, I want to show you again. I know I've done this before, and I know y'all have said everything's fine. Is there a chance, and this is what I'm, Pacer will know, I'm saying, no, they can't, this won't happen. I want to be here because I personally have to tell y'all stuff, or else I can't sleep. Whether or not y'all listen to it, I don't know, but I got to try to cram it in your head. You know what I'm saying? That's what God called me to do. I want us to be here. I don't want us to be somewhere else. If they say we have to not come here anymore, I want to make sure and show you how this all will operate. And I have figured something out that will help everybody. Okay. I don't know, I've said this before, I don't know how y'all do this canvas deal. I have no idea what y'all do to get there. I know what I do to get there. Okay? So if you do know how to get to my canvas deal, go ahead. Get your phone out and do that real quick. If you don't know, ask somebody younger than me and they'll tell you. I don't know how you do it. I know how I do it. And I want to show you something here. Do y'all go to the school website deal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now why is this not working? It's on. It's green. I think it's warmed up. That's green.
Good trial. What is like the deciding factor of like we can't come to school?
I don't know if there's a magic number. I know, what was it, Alvord shut a school down because they had a number of, I don't know what the number is. I don't know if each school district is responsible for figuring their own stuff out. I know if I'm in charge of it and I'm looking at the number growing, I'm probably going to go, hey, let's kind of. I get why they would probably. I don't know what the number is or what's the criteria of it. What in the world?
Are they gonna do like how the point did?
I don't know.
School shuts down, we can still practice and play ball.
Let me just say publicly, if that was to happen, which it can't and it won't, it better be like that. Okay, there's some. Okay. I do care about Mr. King and your grandma, but there's something that, okay, well, okay, there's something else we got to kind of do here.
Yeah, don't bring that
I feel like Coach Cook can find a way
We've
to
already
medically prove wrong.
Okay, why is this not?
I mean,
I
it
don't
was something that we're
think
gonna
they'll send like multiple people home, just so we can like finish throughout our playoff run and
Yeah, that's
then
what Brock
have
did.
them back.
No, you know what
And,
would suck is if we were
he was
only
like,
people
oh,
in
trust
school.
me, I really want
Go
that to
what?
happen.
If we were only people in school.
And I was like, all right, well then other people in
That
school
would
do that,
suck.
why can't I go home? They can't really do that.
No.
And I don't wanna go home and do that.
That's what Brock did. It'd be like the four of us on five. And their coach said like if any of the kids got invited on parties or anything, they were kicked off the team. It'd be like, can't see him. They can't see him.
Okay, I was gonna do this.
Silent to the party.
Okay, is everybody able to do it to get to my stuff?
So,
All right.
they have-
Can you look on yesterday's assignment? And if you don't know how to do that, ask somebody younger than me next to you.
Yesterday was.
It was and I do my stuff by day. I name it by day, so you can, and I put the date like Tuesday or Wednesday, and I put the number date on there.
I don't know how to work this one. I know how to work the computer one. This one. Yeah. This
Okay,
If we
on a
have-
computer. Can y'all do it on a computer too?
Yeah.
Was it a judicial branch?
Yes, Monday.
It's on the upcoming assignments, like click where it says modules at the top, and then click on assignments.
It's different with the.
Yeah.
You just look on that little.
It's on the top, it says US.
This is the one line has.
And this is also if you ever miss a day, or something happens and you want to go back and look at something.
Got it. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a video. Do you see? There's a video there you can look at. It might be off. I might have it turned off.
The 9th is judicial branch?
Yes, I think I extended it through today.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know I've asked some of y'all before. I don't know why sometimes it turns it sideways, because I've got it this way, and it's right. You see what I'm saying? It's right like that, isn't it? That's the way you're supposed to do it. But sometimes when I go to put it on YouTube, it'll flip it. I don't know why it does that. I don't do that. You know I don't do that on purpose because I couldn't figure out how to do that if I wanted to. Right? So this is how I do it. I go to there.
Yeah.
No, that's not it. What in the world?
That's what ours is.
Well, I don't know how to do that part.
Yeah, you log in.
I don't know how to log in. Mine's automatically logged in.
J-Roll, PIST.net is your password.
I don't know. How do I know what the password is for this? Because it makes me do their password, not my password. You know what I mean? Don't you hate when it makes you do their password?
What's your their password?
I don't know what their password is.
It's
Okay,
not
I'll
your-
try.
It's not your original.
No, they won't let me do that.
Yeah, we have the same password for everything in our
I
house.
know, I do that, but then someone says, no, you have to have 15 backward letters and one letter upside down and one number and
My
one
dad-
hieroglyphic for each and one.
My dad's phone is a company phone, they pay for it, so he has to change his password every month.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 111.
Dadgummit!
You just want to log in at mine.
Well,
He's not a student.
I want to do it. Wow, what in the world? Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's it.
So I have 3 of them.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
The other trash can.
What?
Maybe I wanted to watch this one.
Seen your steps in today?
Just stretching my legs out.
Alright, so I got the video on there. If it's ever down or expired, and what I'll do if something happens, I will make it like 2 days, everything like 2 days long, like you got 2 days to look at it, you know what I'm saying? It's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, Jonathan Ryle, let me try that. See if that works.
Yeah, so the.
How will your assignments work online?
Well,
And it's like football.
alright, I've got this thing. I figured out, I only went with what people told me. And I think the way I was doing it, you had to, I guess, text it to me. It said text stuff. Now I figured out how to make it where y'all can actually get this. You know, I know y'all can laugh. It's fine. I don't know any of this crap. Y'all can download this and do it, and then actually send this to me, which is what I meant for it to be anyway. But it's now simplified where you can do that. I know that makes sense to y'all. I understand what download means, but I thought I'd already done that. I guess you click on this and it goes to your stuff,
And just at the bottom of the screen, and it'll just click.
and y'all can do it
Yeah.
and actually send me the whole thing. But I also y'all keep the stuff. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that technical talk?
Is it like the papers you get versus if you type
Yes.
the answers?
Yes. That's what it'll be, just like we do here, but it'll be on a computer. And then like we're having a quiz Friday. I've got the quiz on there and it'll be done the same way. Download it. And what I don't know and I don't understand is if we have tests. I don't know how to Zoom meeting, and my computer will not Zoom meeting. I guess it's too old. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it, if that was to happen. Okay?
If that was to happen though, wouldn't they do what they did last year?
I don't know.
Trains, but they're not even-
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what they'll do. Which is why I'm going over this with y'all. Just, does this make sense? It's really going to be simple. It'll be just like we're here. Just be on a little tape deal. If it's turned sideways, don't trust me and yell at me. It's not me. I didn't do it. It's that thing doing it on its own. Okay? Y'all have seen that do things on its own. If you the video, even if this is down, the videos are always on the YouTube deal. Let me see if I can get to it, because I've only been able to get to it from stuff that's over. Let's see. YouTube. John Clement, that's my first name. Laugh at me, no. And there is another John Clement thing. Who does weird? There we go. Okay.
Just click on your name.
Well, how do I get to the real place?
You click on your name down.
Click on your
Right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
just click on it, and then it'll say.
And that's got all the stuff, and I do it by day. I got the day on there. Okay? So if something dumb happens that we don't want to happen, some of y'all do want to happen, that's how it will work. And if you have a problem, I know on that Canvas deal, you can send me a message. Send me a message. I may not get back to you that second, but I'll get back to you. And we'll make it work. All right? We good? We golden? Okay. And if we do go to dumb, weird stuff, every once in a while, I'll try to put something on there semi-entertaining. I might like have an interview with Titan sometime, and he has some weird stuff to say.
You should do what Murray does.
Yeah, every time it opens up.
Yeah, I have. When I did last year, I did have songs going. The problem is sometimes the song would blare out me, and I'll try to make it to where it doesn't. I don't know what. If it does happen again, I'm just going to get one of them webcam things, and I think that'll work better than this. I don't know. Maybe another thing I have to learn. Great. Awesome. I won't learn nothing. But anyhow. Let's get out those questions that you actually have the physical copies of.
Hey, Charles, can I get another copy of that? Thank you.
Look at that. It's funny. Look at Bray's face of there. You know where that picture is? Lambeau Field, yes. Their Packers game, they won. I know I told y'all about that. We were sitting next to a couple from Mexico, and behind us was 4 people from England.
They're from France.
France? I thought it was England.
It's France.
Okay.
And we were both beside each other. We had a Texas flag,
Yeah.
they had a Mexico flag, and they had a French flag.
Yeah.
And we all hold them up. Just,
I bet you don't see, well, you might see that at Cable games, maybe. But it was awesome.
no, because he they were talking about how he wanted to do his whole life. The guy from Mexico. and
Yeah.
They finally got to fly.
Did we hug or something? I think we did. Me and him
Yeah,
did. I
y'all,
think we
y'all were
did.
like.
Viva los tacos! Viva los tacos! Where do I need to be? Okay. I turned it down a little bit, Trinity.
And then you had the Yahoo behind us with like the neon orange shirt on him. He was yelling at him, telling him to throw the ball or something.
Oh, yeah.
What I love about when Jason and Garrett was still coaching the Cowboys. Garrett's so bad. Garrett's so bad. Fire the coach. Fire the coach.
The once every couple of years that I actually go to like some game, I literally almost get in fights because I don't hear those kind of comments all the time. Like if I'm watching somebody do a chemistry experiment, I'm not telling them how to do it because I know nothing about how to do a chemistry experiment. But there's all kinds of yahoos in the stands that I make assumptions looking at them that they've never played and that they know everything about the game and they've watched film and they've been at every practice. And so I make comments really loud to little Christy or whoever I'm sitting by, hoping to get their little attention. And the UT game a couple years ago, the drunk guy next to me said, "Can you believe this? Horse collar. Horse collar. Oh my gosh, I'm so sick of horse collar. If you tackle somebody from behind, you get to try to tackle somebody. That's not a horse collar. If you grab that, come here, Parker. I'm not doing horse collar. I'm not. If you turn it, if I go like this and jump and pull back so as to maybe snap his leg in half, that is a horse collar. Just because you tackle somebody from behind is not a horse collar. Horse collar! And the guy was screaming, and he says, "Can you believe that?" I said, "Well, yeah, it wasn't a horse collar. Horse collar is when you accent his face is kind of going, and then he comes back, horse collar."
What about the one at the Oregon, Texas game, San Antonio?
Oh my gosh, that guy.
He was funny for a little bit, but then he just got. Everyone was a.
I don't have Twitter.
F you.
I'm not
That's at
supposed to
a
know.
certain stage.
Did you know that, Brad?
Like that, he started screaming at that random person.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend went up to him and was like, "Oh, you
Yes.
did that."
All right, look at I think we're on 12. Y'all know this. If the president picks somebody for something, who has to say yes or no to that?
Congress.
The Senate. Specifically, the Senate does. 12 at the bottom there?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Do you know that, Coach Rob?
What's that?
Parker committed and just didn't want to tell nobody.
All right. Let's give him a hand. We're going to park. All right. Is it that school up at home?
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Yeah, the Senate. Now, what I don't know about if something dumb happens, I don't know if I'll be allowed to come in here and do this. If not, I'll do something. I'll find some whiteboard and talk, and we might be in my room or something, or it might be at the house or outside. Sometimes we do it outside. I'll figure out some way to do that. Yeah. I'll have Pacer sit. I'll bring a desk, and he can sit there, and you'll have to do all that kind of stuff. I'll have Titan sitting there, and he'll have to be answering. Titan, sit down, be quiet. Stop eating. All right, what else we got? I'll try to get a little Christy walking by with no makeup and like zoom in. Hey, look at that. Hey. All right, judicial review. Remember this one. What's judicial review? What are they reviewing? Actions of government. They'll look at laws that are passed. They'll look at things, maybe an executive order. They'll look at that stuff and say what about it? Constitutional or unconstitutional? They will say it's okay or not okay, which means constitutional. Last year I got to wear shorts while I did it. And I'd wear a different jersey or a different, I tried to keep it kind of fresh. I had a different jersey on every day, some kind of different shirt. Does that make sense? Remember that judicial review? A grand jury. You remember what a grand jury does not do?
Did you not prove you applied guilt?
No, they don't say guilty or not guilty. The Supreme Court is almost like a grand jury. So what do you know about the Supreme Court? They don't decide if you're guilty or not guilty. So the Supreme Court does not decide this. The grand jury does decide, are we going to have a trial or not? That's all they say. They don't say guilt or innocence. Is there going to be a trial or not? Is there enough stuff here for a trial or not? What the Supreme Court does decide is, what does judicial review do? Constitutional or not. They will look at a case and say, yes, this was constitutional. This followed what the Constitution says. Or they'll say, no, this wasn't constitutional. So they decide constitutional or not constitutional. Let's say you were arrested and convicted of murder, but the way they got the evidence was unconstitutional. Maybe they searched without a warrant. Maybe they did something they weren't supposed to do. If that happens, then the case gets thrown out, gets overturned. Doesn't mean you're innocent. It means we'll either have a new trial or we won't have a new trial. Does that make sense? They overturn that decision, and now you start over, and hopefully they do it right. So they'll decide, was this case constitutional or not constitutional? If they decide not constitutional, new trial. Done the right way. Does that make sense? So it's much like a grand jury. They're not deciding guilt or innocence. They're deciding, did this case follow the Constitution or not follow the Constitution? The Miranda case, which we're going to look at next week. What do you know about Miranda? Miranda rights. In the mid-60s, this guy was arrested. He confessed to a crime, but there's question as to whether he understood English or not. And at the outcome of it, he was convicted, but the Supreme Court looked at it and said, no, that's the way that was done was unconstitutional. You have to know and understand your rights before anything can be done. So that's where Miranda came from. I think later he was convicted, but they did it more correct than they did the first time. So does this idea make sense? What the Supreme Court actually does. And next week we'll look at that. We're going to look at 4 or 5 different cases. It'll be semi-interesting, I promise. I don't think your heart won't explode because you're going nuts because it's so cool and you'll be yelling out loud. But, you know, right. Bankruptcy. Have we done bankruptcy in here? That's a fun word. It's not a fun thing to go through. But bankruptcy is exactly what it sounds like. You know, bankruptcy. Your bank blows up, all right? What do you know about bankruptcy?
Lose your money.
You are claiming, I can't pay my bills. I'm in financial stress. Not Ray. You can't pay your bills. Can't pay your debts. The people if somebody owes you money, what do you want? You want them to pay you back. The people you borrowed money from, the banks and the companies that you borrowed money from, or you borrowed stuff from them and you're paying it back, they want their money. So this is when I say this, I don't know how to say this right. It's a legal procedure. It's a courtroom situation. All right? This is a court situation. It's a lawsuit. You go to court with your creditors. You are saying, I can't pay these bills back. That's what you're going to court saying, I can't do this. Your creditors are going to court saying what? You gotta pay this back. And so in bankruptcy, they decide how much of this that the creditors are actually gonna receive. How much of your debt the creditors are gonna receive. Does that idea make sense? There's different levels. You'll hear this in your life, there's chapter 7, chapter 11, I don't know what book it comes out of, but there's different levels of bankruptcy, and it's changed over the years. It's a lot tougher now. It does jack your credit up for at least 10 years. If you go bankrupt, it used to be kind of a walk in the park about 20 years ago. Today, it is horrible. Your credit gets jacked up. For at least 10 years, which affects your ability to buy a house, buy a car, get a job. It affects your interest on stuff, affects your payments. It's not something you want to do. I hope you never understand it and know about it. I don't understand it or know about it. I don't want to. But that's what bankruptcy is. It is a court. You're going to court, it's a lawsuit. Misdemeanor is a demeanor that's not married. A little bit. She tried not to. I can tell. She's smiling so big I can tell. A misdemeanor. What's a misdemeanor? It's a smaller crime. Okay. Traffic tickets. Okay. Jaywalking. Parking violations. Those are all misdemeanors. They're minor crimes. 98% of the time doesn't involve jail. I have heard of some misdemeanors that have some jail with it, but most of them don't. I'm just going to go ahead and say no jail. Don't come back and sue me if someday you have a misdemeanor and you go to jail. There's some that kind of do, but it's usually...
I think if you have enough of them.
Yeah, I think it adds up. But I skipped every day of law school. Remember that. My information here is semi-dangerous. Okay? You're gonna see in life. There's a few things I'm saying that are in the ballpark, but they might not be exactly right. And I always tell you I didn't go to this school or this school or this school. So don't come back and be ticked at. Coach, I said I did the disclaimer. I never went to law school, never went to medical school, barely went to school. I kind of paid attention sometimes. It was after school I started paying attention and learning stuff. So that's a misdemeanor. Usually involves a fine. Usually not jail time. What's the one that involves jail? Felony. Felonies. That's the big crimes. That comes with jail. If you rob somebody, if you steal something, if you hurt somebody, that's a felony.
I don't like that word.
I don't either.
It's weird.
I hope none of y'all have to deal with a felony. I'm sure some of y'all will have to deal with a misdemeanor. I got pulled over once when I was 17. Got a traffic ticket when I was 17. I have had 2 traffic tickets. I got a ticket my first year as track coach here. We won the regional track meet, and I was fired up. And I had to bring Coach Calloway. He played baseball. I had to bring him from Stephenville to Peaster to play in the last baseball game. So I drop him off, and I'm driving the back roads back from Peaster. I didn't see a sign. I didn't know what the speed limit was. I think I was doing 65, and the speed limit was 55, and I got pulled over. So, don't speed.
You got pulled over. Yeah, the speedometer wasn't working.
Oh, that was in Texas. Yeah, they pulled me over. I wasn't speeding.
Colorado. I thought it wasn't Colorado because the guy said, or in Mexico or something.
This one, oh, okay, that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I
yeah.
forgot that. Me and Lane, my best friend Lane, were driving back from Las Vegas.
I didn't know this one.
Uh-huh. Was this the one we went with Colt?
Yeah.
This was
I
in,
with you.
this was in Childress? It was Childress. We weren't speeding. I set the cruise control. We weren't speeding. The guy pulled us over. And he pulled us over because we were in the left lane too long, which I didn't know that was a deal. I don't stay in the left lane because that's for the speeding people. But they said left lane too long and you were going 85. You know, I looked at Christy and she looked at me. She went, ha! She stuck and laughed because they always make fun of me because I don't speed. I don't hit the cruise control, maybe one thing over. And he gave me a warning. What? I didn't argue too much, but I was not speeding. But in New Mexico, me and Lane were driving back. We were driving in the middle of nowhere. I think I was doing 5 miles over. And we go driving by, and the cop is sitting right here beside a bush, and I just pulled over. We put our seatbelt on, and he comes over and says, yes, sir, you know why he pulled you over? I said, well, we were speeding. He goes, well, that's not why. You weren't wearing a seatbelt at the time. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he gave us a warning. No, he says, I'm not going to give you a ticket for speeding. I'm going to give you a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt. I said, okay. I've never paid that. It was in New Mexico. I'm never going back to New Mexico. And the statute of limitations, yeah, you know, they can't come back 20 years later and arrest you for that one. Wear a seatbelt. If you kill somebody, yeah, they do that. But I guess we were driving through New Mexico with Colt that time. It's like, oh, I was warning you about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Anyway, there we go.
At least gonna start getting all my tickets in.
Briefs. What are briefs?
Run from the cops.
Why you tidy? No, briefs are the court lawyer's notes. What do the lawyers carry around with them? Briefcase. They carry their notes. They carry their documents. And court cases are all notes and documents. They read up on, if I'm doing a case on somebody getting arrested for climbing a building, I'm going to go back and research all the court cases that have been tried about guys climbing buildings. And I'm going to use those outcomes in my case, whether I'm trying to prove guilt or prove innocence. I'm going to use those old cases. So I take notes, I make copies. Those are the briefs. So the briefs, the lawyer's notes, I'm also going to call it the court documents. And I don't know how much technology has changed what you're doing. You know, they have the people that do that little court reporter. That's a good job. That's a pretty good paying job. It's tough because it's like 9 things. I think there's 9 buttons, and you type using those 9 buttons. You have to go to school for that. I don't know if they use more technology with that or they still use that, but I know that is a good paying job. It's probably pretty stressful because you can't get that wrong. It's got to be right because that's the records of what's happening in the courtroom.
They don't have backspace.
I don't know. I doubt it. No. And in the middle of it, you see the movies. Oh, could you read that back, please? And they have to go back and look and see. I don't know how, but 3. I guess it's like shorthand. I don't know. Do they still do shorthand now? Do you know? Secretaries still do shorthand? Probably not because you're. I don't know. Oh, anyway. I own 18. I really just want you to know these exist. I'm probably going to only ask you ever something about maybe tax court or maybe court martial. Yes, I said it right. Not courts martial, but it's court martial. Look at tax court. What do you think happens in tax court? They handle tax stuff. So there's a separate court. If you have tax conflicts, the IRS, you're going to go to tax court, and that deals with tax problems. And there's a lot of tax problems because it's very complicated. It shouldn't be complicated. When you go into a store, they say, here's how much this is. You say, okay, and you pay that much, and you walk out. Should taxes kind of be like that? Here's your tax. Okay, here's the money. Done. They don't do that. You go up to the counter and they say, well, why don't you give us some money, and then later on you can decide if that was the right amount or not, and we'll send you some stuff. It'll take a year to do this, and we'll take money out of your check, and it's ridiculous. And there's all kinds of loopholes and write-offs, but we'll get to that. I'll take you off in January with that. Okay? Hopefully you'll have your heart racing and you'll start shaking a little bit. And wow. So tax court, U.S. Court of International Trade. I'll just tell you this stuff. You don't have to write it down. This is what U.S. Court of International Trade deals with. Any conflicts that a company might have trading internationally. Duh. The Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. They deal with veterans stuff. There's a lot of problems. Any of y'all's parents or grandparents a veteran? You have a lot of dealing with medical stuff and problems of them not doing stuff or them not paying for stuff, and that's where you go there. Some reason, we waste tons of money on stupid crap, but we try to skimp and save by ripping off veterans. I think that's kind of crappy. That's where we ought to pay extra and skip and save on the other stuff, you know. About the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces has their own court system. They've made movies about, you know, what's the movie? You Can't Handle the Truth. You know, A Few Good Men. You ever seen that? Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, and they have the red. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. The red. Anyway, you can be a lawyer in the military. You can be a judge in the military. They have their own court stuff to handle their things. Court martial. Where have you heard of court? What do you know about a court martial? You ever heard of a court martial where you get kicked out of the military? It's kind of like impeachment. Court martial is not you got kicked out. A court martial is actually a military trial. Trial, yeah. So if you're in a court martial, it's actually a trial. You might get dishonorably discharged. You might get honorably discharged. You might go to military jail. But a court martial is a military courtroom trial. There used to be a TV show, I've never seen it. I think it's called JAG. You heard of that? It's called Judge Advocates General. That's the Navy. I think that's the Navy judge stuff. All right, National Security Court, that's good enough. All right, number 19. We are.
Marshall.
Thank you. I had a class this year that, for the first time ever, it was just silence. I said, we are. We Are Marshall. If you've never seen We Are Marshall, it's a good show. It's semi-true. It's based on a true story, and I think they did it for the most part true to what really happened. It's a good show. Funerals End Today. It's even got Matthew McConaughey in it. I'm saying it's a good show. So there. Well, Colt will go nuts on that one. He's a great actor. I'm gonna get on that. All right. But John Marshall, he was the George Washington of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know about it? What was George Washington?
First president?
First president. And a lot of what he did set the precedent, remember that yesterday? For how other presidents acted. So what do you know about John Marshall? He was the first Chief Justice. And he set the precedent for how the Supreme Court was going to do stuff. Not South Carolina, but Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, because I thought about
There you go. Way to go. See, that's also why you're an outstanding student, Cutler. Above and beyond. Way to go.
I was just
Give Cutler another big hit. I'm just a fan. I'm a Cutler fan.
I was just totally thought I meant something else.
It's a Cutler fan. It's a Ryle fan. All right, Dred Scott. Did we do Dred Scott in here ever? I did with college classes. Have y'all heard of Dred Scott? I know y'all have heard about him in your life, you just might have forgot. Number one, if you have a kid, I can't tell you how important naming that kid is. Every name I name my kid, there's a meaning behind it. It's not some random, like my name, Jonathan Michael Ryle. You know, there's nothing there, all right? Pacer Kennett, Colt Lambeau, Titan Davis. There's meanings behind it. It means something. Plus, I'll tell you how Titan, I bet finally narrowed it down and because God told me Colt and Pacer. I knew that one already. I couldn't figure out a name. God didn't tell us that one. Thanks a lot, God. But I was just talking in class one day, and I said, all right, what about Titan Davis? Because Ernie Davis, you ever seen the Express? He's the first African-American Heisman Trophy winner. So Ernie Davis, Titan Davis, and Christoph Pewitt sat right there where Robert is. He goes, "Hey, Coach, TD, that's touchdown." I went, "It's done. Done. Titan Davis, finished." Would you name your baby Dread? That's got to jack you up. Mama named me Dread. You know, that's not. That's not a good name for a kid. Anyway, Dred Scott was a slave. In the 1850s, this is where I've seen two different things. I remember hearing that he escaped. I've read things that he was brought to Illinois or Indiana, and that was a free state, and maybe he escaped there, and then he sued in court for his freedom. It was right before the Civil War.
Is this Dred Scott?
Yes. He sued for his freedom. And this is another one of those things where I shake my head, and this is a horrible, crappy thing, but this is actually what happened. The Supreme Court said, no, you cannot be free. You actually have no right to this lawsuit because you are property. You are not a person. Therefore, we can't rule on this.
You don't know anything, you didn't pay for it.
No. And look, to me, it is semi-amazing that he was number one, I guess because it was Illinois. And they were a free state. And they didn't like slavery. So maybe that's why he was able to get this far. But it got to, I can't believe the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case. But then they said, well, sorry. Unless they wanted just to be jerks. You know, yeah, we'll hear your case. Come on. Sorry, your property. You're not a person. Next. You know that. So that's horrible. That's a horrible thing. Plessy versus Ferguson. Y'all did this last year. I know you got. Plessy is a name. That's a funny name. All right, it's not like Smith or Jones. It's kind of. Plessy versus Ferguson had to do with railroad cars. You remember what that case was about? I know you talked about it last year or looked at it last year. This said in 1896 that separate but equal is okay. It said segregation's fine. Not buzz. And when they announced it, all anybody heard was the separate part. Nobody heard the but equal. All they heard was the separate. This set a precedent. Every Supreme Court case, every court case sets a precedent because other cases look to those cases to help make their decisions. So once the Supreme Court has ruled something, it very rarely ever contradicts itself. Does that make sense? 1954. Something happened in the Supreme Court. What was it?
Free the slave?
No, 1954.
1954.
Help me out, Kelly. Help me out.
1954.
No, I mean,
You don't know.
You were saying, look, 1954. So you were helping me out there because you knew the Civil War was not in 1954.
Yeah.
Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. This little black girl lived like 3 or 4 blocks away from the white school, and she wanted to go to school there instead of having to go the 24 blocks across town to go to school at her school. There's a lawsuit. Went to the Supreme Court, and they decided, no, this is not okay. They overturned their precedent. And not 50 years later, less than 50 years later, they overturned this. What had not happened yet in 1954? Rosa Parks hadn't sat down yet. Martin Luther King was still in college. None of the civil rights movement had happened. And there's a bunch of old white men on the Supreme Court, and they went back and that never happens where they overturn precedent. So that was huge. So Plessy was the one that said, yes, it's okay. Brown versus Board of Education said, no, it's not. And the next day, black children and white children skipped to school together and everything was perfect, right? No. All right, 22. This one is timely. This one is a subject today. What did FDR try to do to the Supreme Court? Tried to pack it. He tried to make it, there's 9 justices. He tried to make it 16 justices, which means he would have gotten to add 8 of them. Is that right? No, 7. Is that right?
So,
He wanted to add 7 justices. Why do you want to add 7 justices? His stuff was getting declared unconstitutional. And he wanted to put his people on there so they would declare his stuff constitutional. Have you heard anything about this today? Is there rumors that some people in our country want to pack the Supreme Court and add people to the Supreme Court? Is that good? No. It's not, because that's not supposed to be a political institution. Anyway, no. If it's Donald Trump doing it, I don't want it. If it's Joe Biden doing it, I don't want it. I don't want it. So, anyway. All right, we're done. That's very little. Appreciate it.